Welcome to Command Control Power, the longest-running Apple consulting podcast. For over a decade, we've delivered weekly episodes filled with epic tech support stories, troubleshooting insights, discussions about managing clients and businesses, and interviews with industry colleagues and vendors, all tailored for our pro listeners. We also offer exclusive content through Patreon. This private podcast feed is designed specifically for IT professionals, providing valuable advice and guidance on tackling the more complex aspects of running your practice, working with clients and employees, and managing device fleets. With a modest monthly contribution, you'll gain access to a wealth of advanced Apple expertise, meaningful connections, and a community driven by a shared passion for Apple technology. Visit commandcontrolpower.com and click support to learn more. And now, on to the show.
Welcome to another episode of Command Control Power. Good to see you there with the fall background, Jerry. Very appropriate. Is that a photo you took?
Yes, at the grocery store.
Okay.
Okay.
Thought it was like a farm. Nice. Okay, looks pretty good though.
Yeah. They're as big as my head. I
yeah.
actually hadn't tried out the background before.
It works.
And my head fits right in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of weird.
So you got new glasses.
I did. These are just computer glasses. Correct. I got different ones for driving. These are Warby Parker.
Nice. I love the Warbies.
Nice.
So, Joe, if people wanted to see all these things that we're talking about, what would they do?
First of all, they should join us on Patreon, and then they would get access to our live streams. And that's a video and audio thing. So they can see us as we record and react in real time and see all our fun backgrounds and see what facial hair Jerry's rocking. And Sam sometimes she takes the guns out when the sun's out. You might, there you go. Exactly. You might see it all. But so we'd love to have you join us on Patreon. We really value all of our Patreon supporters and we try to provide a little bit more value to them. So I actually have a topic I'd like to bring up on Patreon. So we'll probably save that for the second recording. But for this show, we have some more kind of maybe lower stakes questions. We haven't done a pop quiz in a while. So I have a pop quiz question for you guys, maybe a little bit later in the show. These. Yeah, I did badly. That's why it became a pop quiz. That's the whole idea. It's a challenge for me. So now it's my turn to challenge you. My first question is, speaking of low stakes stuff, why is no one talking about the new cursors in Tahoe? You guys notice there's new cursors in Tahoe?
That's why nobody's talking about it. Nobody noticed.
No. Okay, like when you're in the corner of a window, the cursor's different. You have like that, for example, and the little hand cursor, that one's a little different. It looks more like Mickey Mouse or something. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. The little pointer hand thing. Something I noticed, and I notice when other people haven't brought it up before I notice it. Like I haven't heard. It's low stakes, obviously, but I haven't heard people just commenting on this. They changed all the cursors. Yeah, or complaining, which is usually what you get.
It's interesting how people rail on about the liquid glass. And when I first installed it on my phone before they actually released it, I was like, I just don't pay attention. It's to me, it's very nuanced. And I don't know. I just don't get it.
It's pretty subtle. I like it. Like the places where I've noticed it, I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like the little glossy effect. And when you tilt the phone, you see the little edges change. It's dynamic. Like it's reflecting like the sides of the glass and stuff. I don't know. It's cool. I don't know what else to say about it. I like it.
Although I had a weird thing yesterday where I unlocked and before like all the kind of icons came into play, only like the middles of the icons were there and not like the borders at all. It was really kooky looking. Then it was like a 2-second delay where you can see that happen in parts almost.
Yeah. Have you noticed, by the way, speaking of Tahoe, this is a little annoyance. I was making a video for a client because she was in an office environment and they were saying, oh, the Wi-Fi is dropping. The Wi-Fi is dropping. And so it's a good client for me. So I wanted to respond and look at this problem in earnest. Usually I go like, yeah. And I respond, don't bother me. But this one I took seriously. So I went on the Ubiquiti console and I saw everything was excellent. Everything was green. I looked at the activity of the individual clients that were on the network. Everybody's connection is excellent. I'm not seeing any kind of drops at all. So I attributed this to probably the setting that when they walk away from the computer, and this is what they gave me more detail. They said, if I walk away and then I come back, I have to reconnect to the Wi-Fi. So their computer, because of the settings that they have under privacy and security, under specifically, if you scroll to the bottom of that one page in settings, right? So let me go there live here. So if we go to system settings and we go to privacy and security, if we scroll all the way to the bottom and click on advanced, there's that slider. It used to be in a different place now. This will be on the test, by the way, folks. Log out automatically after inactivity. If they have that on, and let's say their screen set to sleep at 3 minutes, they're going to probably fall off the network. So this, I sent them a little video. Yeah. So as I was making the video to send to them, and by the way, there's a pretty nice tool where you could do this through a web Mac app called Zeit. Have you seen this?
No, not that one.
Found out about this through Tim Pearson. So let me just make sure I got the spelling right. Yeah, Zight. It's a screen recorder. I think the yearly membership is $50 and it does a really neat job. But I had paid up one time for another app, which is a lot more expensive, called ScreenFlow.
Yeah, I remember that.
From Telestream. Yeah, and they've been consistently upgrading that, and that's pretty robust video recording app. So once and occasionally I have to do this for clients. So anyway, so I'm recording the video and we're talking about Tahoe, and I open up system settings and the master list opens up and I touch on, and this can really happen with any of the other subheadings, let's call them on the left-hand side, privacy and security. You tap on it, it doesn't load right away.
I've seen that, yeah.
And it literally took, I was making the video and I said, okay, this is going to load in a second here. We're going to wait till it loads. And I'm waiting there for 15 seconds and I'm like, screw it.
Like,
and I had to
post.
I canceled the video, and it was like I was pulling what little hair I have left.
I've seen little stuff like that, especially with Tahoe lately. Yeah. Or my phone sometimes won't unlock, or it looks like I swipe up from the bottom. It looks like Face ID works. It looks like it's going to load, but then it loads like a blank screen. And then it's like doing something where it's like Face ID again, and then it loads the actual home screen or the app that I was in. There's a double like unlock thing that's like clearly just little interface quirks. But yeah, system settings, I've seen weird stuff like that, probably even before Tahoe, honestly. But
we should blame Sam for this. Sam he's Mr. Apple.
Yeah, I had a hand in this myself, so I apologize.
Liquid Labs was my idea. Yeah, exactly. You guys aren't even going to congratulate me for running Tahoe like already.
Yeah, actually,
like
that is a big deal.
I'm usually so delayed here in when I upgrade, and you guys aren't even going to. I just throw it out there like I'm talking about Tahoe, and everybody just takes it in stride.
We waited for us to bite, and we didn't, Jerry.
Well, you know why, Joe? Because indiscriminately, your machine just updated.
Yeah, exactly right. I didn't want to run Tahoe.
You had no choice.
No, I installed it on day one, and I've been running iOS 26 since a couple weeks before it came out, maybe a week or two before it came out. So yeah, I was on the Jerry playbook this time around.
We won't mention any MDM solutions specifically, but have you guys known this or seen this before? You have Tahoe blockers in place, and then some client machine will update.
No, actually, I've been successful this year, I have to say, with Adigy. In the past, I've definitely seen that, and I think it was a learning curve for me. I don't know. So the formula, at least with Adigy, maybe every MDM is a little different, but Adigy offers a blocker app. And before the days I don't know before which days, before Sonoma, I feel like that was enough, right? The blocker just worked. Like the only way to get the new upgrade was they had to download it through the Mac App Store. Maybe that anyway. That was like macOS 12 or something, whatever, Sierra, I think. It maybe stopped around that era. But during that era, the only way they could get the upgrade was to get it from the Mac App Store. So it implied there was a full download of the app that was the installer. And so Adigy's blocker software would block that full download, that full installation kind of process. But they couldn't block the software update process. And Apple just snuck it in there. They started to offer the upgrade in system settings, software update. So to block that, you need the deferral profile. Now, Adigy has instructions on this and everything, and every MDM has this. I had a previous one that I just made using iMazing, I think, profile creator. Yeah. But Adigy just has a good built-in method now. So the quirk about that, I think we talked about this recently, but there's no way to block a major upgrade to the latest macOS without also blocking a major upgrade to the prior macOS. There's no way to say just block Tahoe but allow Sequoia if they're running Sonoma, for example. So that's the thing to keep in mind. But my formula works. You have the defer major upgrade for whatever number of days, hide it in system settings, and also use the Adigy blocker just in case they somehow get the full download.
Joe, just to harp on that point there, could you, within Adigy, create groups for 10, 12 computer? Like, it's kind of a pain, but what, to your point of saying the profile does it no matter what, you'd have to separate them out. That's the only option.
Yeah, I hadn't thought that through yet. Somebody, I don't remember if it was you, Sam, or like someone else in a chat somewhere along the way, or maybe it was like in our show last recording or something, mentioned, you'd have to do what you just said. Have different policies depending on if you're only running Sonoma. But like, how would I prevent the Sonoma machine from going all the way to Tahoe when I just want it to go to Sequoia in that case? Even if it's in its own policy.
Yeah, I think you'd have to have the blocker and the deferral, I guess, like the blocker for Tahoe, and then a deferral for the MDM profile for the deferral of any updates. It's a bit messy, I think.
Yeah.
And
so here's the reason. So Apple's facility for doing this in a single MDM profile is to say block a major macOS upgrade for so many days. And so what you'll see is, for example, if the machine's running Sonoma, you want to block Tahoe, and Tahoe's only been out for a week or whatever. So let's say your deferral is set for 2 weeks. So it's not going to show Tahoe, but it's also not going to show the latest release of Sequoia, because that, like Sequoia, 15.7 was released the same day as Tahoe or whatever. So it's not going to show that, but it might show Sequoia version 15.61 or something, because that came out more than 2 weeks ago. So it will show that, but then I've had clients email me and say, hey, I'm trying to do this upgrade to Sequoia, whatever, and it's showing up in system settings, and it's showing up the 15.61 version, and they try to do it, and it doesn't work. I don't know if 15.61 was the version they were having trouble with at the time that this was happening, but I think the reason that it doesn't work is because Apple may have pulled that. I don't know if maybe they're not signing it anymore, but then when would they show it? I don't know, or maybe it should have worked. I don't know, but my solution was just deploy it using Adigy. Just send the public software upgrade to Sequoia, because they were running Sonoma. So I wanted them to upgrade to Sequoia, or they were just trying to do it anyway. But that was my workaround. Yeah,
I think it goes to the point of I don't know that I can't speak for Apple, even though Jerry thinks I can, but that deferring isn't so much in their list of importance. It's you want to be on the latest and greatest kind of thing.
Right.
And with the new or updated declarative device management stuff, like they're making it a lot easier to update automatically, but not so much to stop the updates that we want.
Exactly. And maybe to Mike Kingsley's point in the chat here, he says you have to also set software updates to be limited to 15 dot whatever, like he's saying 15.9, for example. So that's the third thing you do, which I already do, so that's why I didn't mention that. But in our auto updater, we're specifically vetting those updates, because to your point, like Apple will just be like, there's an update, get it now. And it's going to basically push it out as quickly as possible, like with no management. So we specify that like 15, I'll test it on my machines. I actually want to talk about this in the Patreon episode, but I have a whole series of test machines, and I'll just do it first, just at the very least, so I can tell a client I've tested it. I certainly don't want to push it out to all my clients and find out that there's like a known bug where half of them are bricked. So I at least want to test it on my machines. So I'll do that, and then I'll increment that number. So in my MDM software updates policies, I'll put in 15.7 in this case once it's out and once I tested it. But yeah, Mike is saying basically you can limit it to 15.99 or something, and that will mean that it will only ever go as high as Sequoia, but it won't go to the next major macOS through the update policy.
Yeah. I don't know. And everyone has their like secret sauce, of doing this, because you need a secret sauce. There's no, just do this in this MDM, and it works across all of them. You need a recipe to get this done.
Exactly.
Have you guys had any pushback from clients who've upgraded and then they reach out to you and you got to do a little quick remote session with them?
What do you have, Sam? Yeah.
I had a funny experience with that.
I've had a couple.
Yeah, not you mean, Jerry, do you mean like someone already upgrading it or trying to and complaining?
Yeah, bare my soul on this show. I was a little asleep at the wheel with the deferments and stuff like that. So a whole crap load of machines updated by themselves.
Oh, wow.
And I was really happy because for the most part, it was radio silence.
Yeah.
Except for one of my Nana clients who reached out and said, my screen's going crazy. I don't know what happened. So I respond right away and I remote in, and she had some widgets that she didn't want to see. So I just took care of those in a couple of seconds. And then she lost the Sequoia background, which she really liked because she thought it was peaceful. And she didn't like to see the Lake Tahoe. And I said, okay, and what else? She goes, no, that's it. But it was like this real call to action for me to come there or to remote in and fix things. But happily, these machines have upgraded seamlessly.
Interesting. Yeah.
That's a good sign.
Yeah.
What about you, Sam?
No, I haven't had any major. We've blocked it across the board. I think like we missed one or two smallsies that may have updated, but nothing major has come out of that. But we did have a client that freaked out because on Reddit, someone had said that you can, if you update the Tahoe, you'll be able to unenroll from your MDM, even if you automatically enrolled. And they were like, stop everything. I'm like,
oh, wow. Huh.
I'm like, I don't know that we should be using Reddit as a source of truth. Like, let's take a step back. No, and they're a smart client and everything like that. But it was just like, I actually reached out to a few people. I was like, have you guys heard of this? And no one had. Yeah. And so I was like, I think this is a false alarm. This is not anything real.
Mike Kingsley again in the chat says with his customers so far, no comments. I've had a couple of customers complain about Safari specifically. And actually one of them was on Sequoia. So it's just the latest Safari. That's the annoyance. And I was surprised because I don't know, I see these changes and I'm like, I don't really care. I get the complaint about the toolbar color changing and stuff. And maybe it doesn't matter to me as much because I'm typically in dark mode and I use the extension you recommended a while back, Sam, Dark Reader, for where the site doesn't automatically switch. So I don't see a lot of like crazy colors in the title bar and all. And that wasn't even what they were complaining about, but I had read that, I think probably also on Reddit or maybe in Slack. The one they were complaining about was the bookmarks sidebar now so helpfully shows these like massive like blobs at the top showing like your recently saved ones. And you can't hide it. Like it's just there whether you like it or not. So people see that and they're like, I don't want that. And sorry, I don't know what to do about it. And probably Apple will adjust it. And that was my advice then was here's the Apple Safari feedback page, which by the way looks like it's the Aqua era. Have you guys noticed that? With the
no, I didn't notice that.
It's like a weird, like the fonts are weird and some of the anyway, but so the feedback page is a good resource for clients to use. And the issue they were complaining about besides that one is that by default, the bookmarks now show like a big icon and then a description underneath it. So they just want to see the list of bookmarks and the order that they had it in. But Apple's, hey, we've got an idea. We're going to show you a big icon and a description, and we're going to sort them in the order that we think that they should be in. It's like that kind of thing where they're taking this. And a couple clients have complained about that. And there is a way, you can click the three dots next to like your bookmarks heading at the top there, and you can say choose compact. So you can go back to the previous like compact way of listing the bookmarks. And you can also, I think, so that turns off the description, turns off the big icons and stuff. And then you can choose a sort order. So sort by none or sort by date added, which is I think the new default, or name or whatever you want. And so you have those options, but only in Tahoe. Apparently, those options don't exist in Sequoia. So Sequoia gets the new Safari, 26 or whatever it is, but they don't get there's no way that I could see, or in the research that I did, in the Sequoia version of Safari, it changes the sidebar to be the same as the Tahoe version, but it doesn't give you the same choices to go back to the previous version.
That's funny. That's
I know. So it's like,
Tahoe, everybody.
It is. Yeah.
By the way, if our audience is hearing any odd background noises, Jerry has moved into a bird sanctuary, so that's why.
Old news, Sam.
Yeah,
old news.
I don't know. Not everyone listens every week.
Go up for all the shows and all the
birds are quite chatty today, I have to say.
They are. Yeah.
It lends a peaceful air to our discussion.
It's true.
It's relaxing. It's therapeutic.
Exactly. Yeah. I have several machines running 26 according to Adigy, and I realized as I'm looking at this, I expected to see 3 because I had one client before I pushed out the deferral policy. I had the blocker and I forgot the deferral. So same as you, Jerry, I was a little asleep at the wheel there, but that I did it like late on day one or something and it was fine. But one client upgraded in the meantime. And of course, Tim's Mac and my Mac are upgraded, but then I see these other Macs running 26 and I'm thinking, oh no, they're slipping through like the experience you're having. Then I scroll over and I see, oh, those are actually 3 Apple TVs. So I don't know if I'm blocking, I don't know why they upgraded, to be honest, because I have a policy in there to update to the latest version of iOS 18 or tvOS 18, but I might have to check that because 3 Apple TVs have upgraded to 26. So either they're manually being updated or there's just a built-in auto update that's not my update, not my scheduled updates, but some kind of internal one, or the client just did it manually. I don't know. So I must not be blocking it per se on the, I typically don't block the updates on iOS, iPadOS, or tvOS because typically in my experience, those are much smoother.
Yeah.
Clients.
And they're not like the main like functional device in their queue.
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't know. Like I said, the amount of machines that upgraded before I put in some blockers was pretty significant, and I didn't get any calls.
Wow.
And from locations that I thought would like, okay, I've just had people seamlessly upgrade. Kudos to Apple for that. How often do we say that? But
I say it all the time.
I would say, of course you do. Of course.
I was waiting for that. I was waiting for it.
Don't bite the hand that feeds you, Sam.
Nice.
So, Joe, I just say let it rip.
Yeah, no, I'm planning to upgrade my clients sooner this year. Like typically the old advice of wait for the 0.3, and that's usually several months in. And now we're looking at probably like February because you're not going to do it in like December, like right around the holidays. But this time around, I think like maybe as soon as a few weeks from now, maybe a month from now, I think we'll be starting to like allow clients to upgrade and maybe encouraging some of the other ones. But yeah, it definitely seems, aside from, I guess iOS has more of those visual bugs for me with the liquid glass. I don't really see the same bugs on the macOS. Maybe here and there. I see posts on Reddit sometimes where they're like, come on, Apple. And it's like a screenshot of a window with 2 different corner radii. Like the radius of one corner is different from the radius of the curve on the other corner. I'm like, okay, fine. Maybe you should get a hobby. I don't know. Just to scrutinize all the like corner radius like issues. It's not a concern for me.
This is the same way.
I guess that is a hobby. Exactly.
With John Gruber from Daring Fireball, if you listen to his podcast, he could wax poetic on glyphs and just talking about the nuances of fonts. Who cares?
I know
there's some people that care, and I get that. I recognize that. I respect that. But that's why a lot of times I can't listen to these podcasts on a regular basis.
I agree. Same thing with Accidental Tech Podcast. They will go on and on. For 2 months prior to the new Mac OS version, I'm like, guys, let them fix this stuff. Like, why are we even talking about it? If you notice it, submit a feedback, and Apple will, if Apple hasn't noticed it yet, like they will get to it. Yeah. But maybe wait until the release until we criticize it. And like now, fine, it's out. Like we can criticize it, but even then, it's minor stuff. Like it's really not showstoppers. Jerome Potter says Tahoe seems rock solid. New area for Apple. I agree. They're like the era of releasing OSs and having it just work smoothly. This is great.
Back to the Snow Leopard days.
The podcast, and I can't even remember the name of it, the one you just mentioned there, Joe.
Accidental Tech, ATP.
Yeah, so I unsubscribed to them. They're on my not listened to list.
Do not listen,
And I think they have an interesting subculture of people who think like they're in the know because they're connected with Marco and Casey and their developers. And I'm listening to this and I'm like in a real subculture of really cool people. And I'm at the point now with my podcast listening, I'm very discriminate and more podcasts end up on my list. So it's the same thing that I talked about with my dad, where he had this theory that the older you get, the more places that you normally would go to, either for grocery shopping or meals, somehow they get on the do not patronize list.
Yeah.
He says, so by the time you hit 60 or 70, you're driving further and further to get your groceries or just to have a meal. And so it's the same way with me and podcasts.
Right. Yeah. I think a lot of their listeners I should say I respect those guys. Like I've been listening to John. Actually, I don't listen to John Gruber. I read him every day, though, practically on Daring Fireball. I have always listened to Accidental Tech Podcast almost every episode, and I respect those guys. I will criticize their criticism though, because they just can scrutinize those details, like about again these like minor things that are probably in flux anyway. So I just think we don't need to be talking this much about it. I think a lot of their listeners are like even finance people that are trying to see what the trend is. Is Apple going to go up or go down? Is NVIDIA going to go up? Because they have some people that are in the know that are little birdies whispering to them about what's happening inside Apple or whatever. This is what people are listening for, those clues. But yeah,
interestingly, but they're fish out of water with other things. Because I remember this happened a couple of years back where they were all gifted Synology NASAs, like demo things. And they were like a fish out of water with that. And they were, maybe they're better now at navigating that type of technology. But at the time, you strip them away from Apple and they're
totally
lost sheep.
It's been fun listening to them come around to a lot of the things, like the best practices that we have, like Synology, like Ubiquity now. So Marco will sometimes talk about his Unify network and like how he installed one in the restaurant that he bought and all this stuff. So it's interesting to hear them discover some of the things that we've all discovered over the years doing this professionally. But yeah, to your point, their focus is on like developing for the Mac and iPhone for the most part, and just, tech around Apple. But outside of that, it's clearly not there. They're not spending the kind of time that we're spending on it, but they do have this wide audience and they have things come up. For example, I've had this on my list for a while. There was a story on the Accidental Tech Podcast about fake Apple products being brought into the Apple Store for replacement under AppleCare. And somehow they're so real that they work just like the real thing, like a set of AirPods that turns out to be fake. And they even have like real serial numbers, which is insane.
I've seen them.
Have you seen this? So this is what I was wondering, is anyone out there has seen this in real life? Because they were talking about on the show, like it's a real issue.
Yeah, I went to a certain country that has those
issues
everywhere, and they do show up. I was in the market, and if you look at it, you can pair, and it shows AppleCare, it shows serial number, it shows everything.
What?
It's insane. Yeah,
that is pretty interesting.
And I'm like, and then I asked her, I'm like, so could you take this in for repair? They're like, oh no, don't do that. Like, don't bring it in.
This is what they said on the show. They said that in certain cases like this, where it's not just like totally dead and untroubleshootable, they may require offsite service that rather than replacement in the store. So a lot of times if you bring an AirPods and it's, hey, this isn't working, and you have AppleCare, they'll just swap it out. In these cases where they detect this is a real serial number, but maybe it's been like mass produced across lots of devices, or I don't know how they detect it, but they send it out for repair so that Apple can investigate it and be like, yeah, this is a fake. Sorry, can't support it. But they can't do that in the store. They'll send it to whatever facility outside.
Do they keep it? I wonder if they keep it.
I wonder. That's a really good question. They probably return it, I would assume.
This was one of those things that was mentioned in the book Apple in China, the Patrick McGee book that came out in May of this past year. And I know that somewhere in the chronology of the supply chain in China getting more of Apple's intellectual property of how to manufacture devices. And that was the point of the book, is that Apple gave away a lot of expertise and know-how to the Chinese in terms of manufacturing. And now, of course, they've diversified with their manufacturing, and the Chinese have an incredible skill set. But somewhere in the book, like I say, in the chronology, they talked about these counterfeits that would come in. And a lot of them were rejects off the manufacturing line and that sort of thing. And Apple has a good way of squashing those now. So I think they have probably more than they want, but they were able to deal with that successfully. But I'm not denying that, Sam, in your travels, they probably make these every single day. They're out there in the wild. It's just a question of, it's not a viable product if you can't fix it or if it stops working.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, there's obviously a lot of counterfeit for a lot of different popular name brands, everything like that. But Apple's technology is intricate. That it's interesting that what Jerry's point was saying, that they've been able to replicate this or get it off the line, and it's like it's the real thing.
You'll always see that wherever there's like a vacuum, so the money and the like scammers will rush in. You have this very high margin between the cost of producing the product versus the selling price, because a lot of the actual cost is in research and development. So the scammers are not paying for hundreds of engineers for several years to like develop the product and refine it and support the software and have a whole infrastructure. The cost of producing one set of AirPods on the assembly line is probably near zero compared to the selling price. And so if they can produce a few more and sell them for half the Apple price and still make a huge margin on it, it makes sense there's going to be scammers there. And I don't know how Apple I wonder how they did that, Jerry, if they have been able to clamp down, because it's really all about those incentives. How do you disincentivize people from doing those scams? And how do you also put some kind of technical limit on it? It's tricky. Yeah, I wonder.
That's a great book
on the box or something. Yeah.
Highly recommend it.
Before. That's right.
Yeah.
I never, what did you say the name of it was again?
Apple in China by Patrick McGee.
I just finished Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, the creator of Nike.
Sure. Yeah.
That's a great book. And one called Careless People. It was about the team at Facebook. It was written by an attorney that worked within the Facebook organization. Oh, wow. That was a really good book. But I'm going to throw this on my list because all of a sudden I'm book happy lately.
Nice.
Yeah, it's an easy read for anybody who's listening to the show because it's everything you're completely familiar with. So when you talk about product lines and stuff like that, we've all lived it. So it makes it particularly interesting. It's not like we're picking this up fresh and we don't know much about Apple because we bought our first Apple product 2 years ago. No, we were there from the beginning. So it's really neat to follow the arc of this story.
Yeah. It's in my cart.
Nice. One more thing with the upgraded Tahoe, just circling back to that, is that I wanted to see what Tahoe actually looks like for people. So I had to go back into my accessibility settings and turn off the reduced transparency, because in the past I must have turned that on because of the sidebars that bleed through the background and just the different things like that. I prefer to have it more of the old school way, but I decided to switch back to the default settings just to see what it really looks like. And I don't mind it in practice. So yeah, I actually like it. But yeah, anyway, it's something to check because of course that setting sticks unless you change it back. Another couple curious things about the release. So Apple releases this was now 10 days ago as we record, September 15th, they released all 3 currently supported OSs. So goodbye to Ventura 13, obviously. Along with macOS 26, they released updates for Sequoia 15.7 and Sonoma 14.8. So I thought it was interesting that they released all of those updates on the same day. That was a solid release. And then of course, iOS 26 in the same day. They also updated some older versions of iOS, which I thought was really interesting. They released iOS 26 for iPhone 11 and later, iPad Pro 12.9 inch, 3rd generation and later, and the iPad Pro 11 inch, 1st generation and later. And then iPad Air, 3rd generation and later, iPad 8th generation, iPad Mini, 5th generation and later. So that's all iOS 26. They also released, of course, iOS 18.7. Great. That's what we expected, right? That's for the iPhone XS and later, iPad Pro 13, iPad Pro 12, blah, blah, blah. You can look this up on their website. They also updated iOS 16.7.12 and iPadOS 16.7.12. So they didn't change 17. That's just gone. But they updated 16 because that is supported on the iPhone 8, the 8 Plus, the iPhone 10, iPad 5th generation, iPad Pro, blah, blah, blah. So a bunch of different devices that support 16. And I guess those devices don't support 17. And so they are updating 16 for that. But what I thought was even more interesting was that they also released updates for iOS 15. This is ancient history now, no? We're like 15, what? Okay, so I saw that. I'm like, what is this about? So iOS 15.8.5 and iPadOS 15.8.5 supports the iPhone 6S, the iPhone 7, the iPhone SE 1st generation, iPad Air 2, iPad Mini 4th generation, and the iPod Touch 7th generation. Sweet. When was the last time you helped a client with an iPod Touch?
I don't know, but you can't hear complaints now of people saying Apple's forcing you to upgrade your device. Look at that. They're updating the software for iPhone 6. Jeez.
Yeah. iPhone 6S, all models. Yeah. So I thought that was really generous of them, of course. I don't know if you want to talk about $1 trillion company being generous. But anyway, they don't have to support this stuff. I'm sure it's in their self-interest to do it. But like you said, it's less for people to complain about. I assume the reason is that there's a lot of these like devices in the field for point of sale or random uses like that where they're not going anywhere. Yeah, kiosks, exactly, like stuff like that.
The big question is which one of these works with the Apple Pencil 2? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, does that run iOS? I don't know.
And if you don't get this joke, it was one of the questions that everybody complained about on the last.
Oh, that's right.
Test.
Yes, those tests. Yeah, which iPad is for which pencil? I'll just.
Did you notice Sam twisted his mustache just there?
I did. I had nothing to do. I don't know what you're talking about.
A stumper question. But yeah, so that's pretty cool that Apple released updates all on the same day for every iOS device going back to the iPod Touch 7th generation and the iPhone 6S. Pretty cool that you can rest assured that stuff is still getting security updates for the ones that are in the field at least. So that's good.
Great.
But yeah, the question in the chat, Jerome Potters again says, we used to wait until the 0.3 release. Are we thinking that maybe the 0.1 release is the way to aim? Jerry's saying the 0.0 or beta even is good enough at this point. Sam, what's your vibe? Because Jerry's like on the early end of that spectrum. What you're probably where in the middle somewhere.
No, I think like a 0.1 is probably a safe bet these days. Like I think day of release is a little sketchy because you still don't want to be the guinea pig, no matter how advanced and I don't know, static it seems it is. There's always going to be something that someone catches and you don't want it to be your customer.
Right.
So I think 0.1 is pretty safe.
Yeah, I would say so too. Yeah, Guillaume Get in the chat says that 90 days to defer Tahoe before it appears for all customers. So 90 days is the max. That's the other end of the spectrum, is if you want to defer as long as possible, it's 90 days post-release of Tahoe. I believe we get into weird stuff when they release updates to the major OS. So it's like once the 0.1 is out, isn't it 90 days from that date that you can essentially defer it if they haven't? It becomes very weird and like a multivariate math problem to figure this out, I feel like. But does that ring a bell, Sam?
So bad. Okay. Yeah, I think, but what you're saying is that, like when Tahoe 26 comes out, 90 days. And then if 26.1 comes out, that one is deferred for 90 days. So,
but you won't see 26.0. Oh, you will. No, that's right. You will start to see 26.0. But see, okay, so that's what I'm getting at, I think. Thank you for clarifying, because the issue is that, like some people that should be basically you should pull the deferral profile as soon as your deferral time is up, because if you leave it in place, then you're essentially blocking people from updating to the latest version of Tahoe, and you're forcing them to upgrade to the 0.0 in that interim window. Once 0.1 is out, let's say you're past your deferral window for 26.0, you want to go to 26.1 at that point. You don't want them to be forced to go to 26.0, and that will happen. Have you guys seen that?
And by the time this show gets released, 26.1 will be out because it's already developer releases out for it. So
okay, right, when the show's released. Yeah. And Jerome Potter says, stop using the 90-day MDM profile after the initial 90 days. Exactly. Or whatever your time period is. Like I'm blocking it for 50-something days, which gets us till the second week of November or something, because I don't want to go much. I don't want to have this deployed on Christmas Day or something. So I want to probably stop blocking it relatively earlier or whatever. So that 55 days. So by that date, I don't want to just leave it in place and say, keep blocking for 55 days, because that's just going to block 26.1, but not block 26.0. I'm trying to explain that. I think it makes sense. But.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. And to their point in the chat, I think that makes sense to take it off after the 90 days or whatever your time frame is, so you don't accidentally force them on the older one. That was a good point to bring up, Joe.
Yeah, because I remember that from last year, and I'm sure that was going to bite me again. So I'm glad that came out. And Mike Kingsley is saying one of his biggest customers actually requested the 0.0 release. So I don't know if it's the marketing working on them, or it's like, what are the features some people might want? Like in the previous version, we really liked the passwords app and the iPhone mirroring. Those are two like flagship features that were actually useful in our client base. He's finding that people are actively requesting this. So I'm curious, are there features that people are looking for?
They're looking for the slow load in system settings. I think that's what they want.
Right. Yeah. The liquid glass and all, maybe.
Yeah, like you say, it's marketing doing their job, and people see these things and they get excited. Or when your blog, if you're using Tidbits Content Network, you've given them a review of the stuff that comes out, and they naturally get excited because they feel like if they're not running the latest OS, they're missing out somehow. And the guy in the next cubicle over who works for another company, he's got the latest and you don't. Speaking of latest, have you guys given any thought? This is a subject that I pay a little bit of attention to. I was really excited. AirPods Pro 3 before they released. I really was looking for some sort of a hardware upgrade. And they did add some features, and we don't necessarily have to go through them, but it still has the same chip as the H2. So the communications chip is not an H3. And that was disappointing to me because I just wanted, if you buy an iPhone, right, you want something just a little bit, you're going to buy something that's faster, right? That's the compulsion. You get the new processor that's in there, and you're buying 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So what, you don't want to talk about the new features, but
we can.
You
The heart rate
end up
sensor.
returning them, right?
Yeah, only because I got a deal from the AirPods 2 at Costco for $150 with 2 years of AppleCare Plus. That was a hard to pass up because I was having problems with my AirPods 2 Pro 2 that I'm using right now. I don't want to bore everybody with this, but they weren't charging. And ironically, here's a good one for you. Once I got these, and it was really hard for me to get these to upgrade to the latest software for some reason. I was on the developer release on everything. I couldn't get my AirPods to update. As soon as I got them to update, I have no more charging issues. And I was convinced it was a hardware problem. So this points more back to maybe a firmware issue with them that they knew about. So I say conspiracy. So I haven't really taken the brand new ones I just bought out of the box, but I did return the 3s. I pre-ordered them, but as soon as all the information leaked out, I got a little disappointed and just didn't even want to bother trying them.
So do you want to debate with Kingsley in the chat about better sound quality?
The sound profile is different, and I'm not debating that to some people's ears, and the fit is supposed to be better because of the new ear tips and the redesign of the angle that it fits in your ears. So it is going to sound different, and I don't debate that. But when you get into sound signatures, how they refer to it technically these days, the audio files, it's me having a tube amp and a record player and me telling you that's better than your solid state hi-fi with a CD player. It's splitting hairs and everybody hears differently. Yeah, it's not debatable. It's just different to some people's ears.
I actually ordered mine yesterday.
Nice.
This is a little bit off track from this, but last show you were talking about AppleCare 1, that you have that now.
I combine my devices, yes.
So I was on a plane the other day and I'm like doing some stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, AppleCare 1. I'm like, I should probably switch over to that because I have different AppleCare agreements. So I consolidated, got AppleCare 1 for my phone, my Mac, and my watch.
Right, up to 3 devices.
Yeah.
And you can add more for a certain price.
$5.99.
Which it doesn't make sense for AirPods, obviously.
Right. But here's the part where I got my AirPods. So I did that and I was like, cool, I'm done. I didn't think anything of it. Yeah. But I must have had a plan for one of my devices where I guess I paid outright, because after moments that I got an email that said, congratulations on AppleCare 1, I got Samuel Valencia has sent you a gift card of $253.
Wow.
And I was like,
how nice of him.
I was like, that's awesome. He's a great dude. So I didn't know. I must have had a fully paid plan, I'm assuming. And I didn't think about it, but they refunded me that amount.
Yeah,
free money. So I spent it on AirPods.
Nice.
Yeah.
Apple knows you're just going to give it back to them.
Yeah, it was a gift card anyway, so it wasn't money coming to me. It was like, you got to use it with us anyway. But
yeah, they're very good about that. It happens almost instantaneously. So let's say you start putting your devices on, they cancel the old plans, and all of a sudden, whatever prorated amount, you just get these little gift cards back. So
that was a nice amount. It covered exactly my AirPods. So I was like,
nice. The rule is basically, sorry, I was just going to say on the topic of the cost, like for people like us that have more than 3 devices, like definitely don't include your AirPods in the AppleCare 1 plan, essentially. Is that the only kind of rule of thumb on this? Or
I forget how much the watch is, because the AirPods are $1.99.
Right, okay.
But I think anyone remember? I think it's around $5 or $6 for the watch.
The watch might be similar. I don't know. That's a good question. Yeah. Yeah,
But it's
Stefan.
definitely worth looking at.
Sorry,
Joe, are you going to get AirPods Pro 2?
No, all right. On that topic, I was really skeptical of all the hype. It seemed like from the announcement, everybody was like, AirPods Pro 3, oh, this is the best. Like parades in the street were going by. I was really surprised about that because I love my AirPods Pro too. Like they're great and they have the USB-C connector and I'm all up to date and they work well. And I use them every single day, all day for both client work, calls, obviously, and also like listening to podcasts as I walk. Also, by the way, like listening to music is great. And I usually don't put 2 AirPods in and listen to music, but that's also really great. So I have no complaints and I use them heavily. So you'd think I'd be the perfect target market for this. And I may buy them just because I rely so heavily on them. Like it would be worth it to me to have a better fit is appealing. Like the fact that they would stay in my ears just a little bit better. Although these I haven't had the same issues with that I had with the first generation AirPods Pro. And of course, better noise cancellation. Sure, that would be nice, but these already have very great noise cancellation. So I don't need that. And maybe slightly better battery would be useful. But again, no real complaints. So it would be nice, but it's not really a need for me. So I'm just waiting on all this stuff. I would like to talk to you about the new iPhone though, at some point.
Maybe Sam will send you his gift card.
Yeah, no, he's already spent it. Yeah.
Hey, my AirPods 2 the mic was starting to have issues. People were like, oh, I can't really hear you. I was like, oh no, because I, like you, Joe, I use them a lot.
Yeah.
But the other thing was I was on the plane, like I said, I was with my son and I lent him my AirPods because he forgot his headphones. And I had 2 pairs of AirPods, like an older one. And one of the, what do you call them? The suction thing that goes in your ear. The tip.
Yeah.
Easy. So one of them was gone. I was like, what happened to it? So then this one's too small for me. I was like, I have another one here. And he takes it off. And then it fell between the airplane seats. I'm like, oh, damn it. I'm like, I'm never finding that again. So I was like,
even if you find it, I don't know if you want to put it in your ear though, either.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
At that point, plane, yeah. Oh man, you could just buy a new set of tips, right? If you had to,
just an excuse.
You're like, just new AirPods.
Yeah. Were you going to share another comment from the chat? I think you were, Joe.
Oh yeah, Stefano really said. So we're talking about the issue of when macOS 26.1 comes out and your deferral profile is still in place, it will block that. So if let's say the Mac is running Sequoia.
We're back on this again, folks. Sorry.
It's like hard to explain, so I get it. But the issue that it occurs is that when you can defer 26.0 and 26.1 and whatever comes out for whatever number of days you choose, if there's a new version release, like an update to the upgrade, like 26.1 or 26.2 that comes out later than 26.0, obviously, and so that is considered a major release. And that will be blocked by your deferral profile for that number of days. So your deferral profile says if you're running Sequoia, don't even show the end user 26.1 or 26.2 if those have been out for less than whatever number of days. But 26.0 has been out for more than that number of days. So it's showing them 26.0 and it's not showing them 26.1. Yes, Sam.
I was trying to raise my hand
in
my background. You couldn't see it. But there is in the profile though, you can set a different for major release versus minor release.
Yeah, but it's not a minor release if they're running Sequoia. So if they're running Sequoia and you want them, so like your deferral window expires, or this also happens if you defer for the maximum 90 days, they will not be able to upgrade it to any version of Tahoe for 90 days. And then 90 days is up and now 26.0 came out 91 days ago or whatever. Right. So 26.0 starts to be shown if you leave the profile in place.
Yeah.
By then you can't stop them from installing 26.0. You can only stop them from installing 26.1 coming from Sequoia. But you don't want to do that. If they have to upgrade, if you can't stop them from upgrading to Tahoe, you're going to want to install the latest version of Tahoe. So this is where Apple's like logic around how they design this deferral system just comes back to bite them, because I don't think that makes sense where you would block them from installing the latest, because it's not going to be blocked, to your point, Sam. Once they install 26.0, now 26.1 is a minor update. So you're not able to block them even if you wanted to from updating. So then they have to just go to 26.0 and be basically woefully out of date for a little bit of time until they then update to 26.1. Ideally, their Apple system would be like, okay, 90 days applies to the first release of the major macOS version that we're talking about here. I don't care if it's 26.0 or 26.1 or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like once 90 days is up, it's up based on the original release date, not the release date of the 0.1 of that major upgrade. Anyway, I'm done talking about this topic.
No, I mean, I think some people appreciated that discussion point about it too. But it is specifically with when a new version comes out, we're talking about, because like after that period, there are changes that'll happen down the road. But like specifically with the new OS version, that's a bit of a tricky situation. And then you'd have to come up with scripted behaviors to stop it otherwise. But as far as MDM goes, that's our only shot, to your point.
And you really can't. I don't know that you can stop. Can anyone stop software update? I guess you can hide the software update preference, and I don't know.
No, like
can you? I don't even know if you can.
Not via software update. You'd have to block it like by blocking the app process separately.
Yeah, exactly. That might be weird. Like you're talking about like killing the software update process or whatever underlying.
So like inside the literal Tahoe installer, like the install assistant process, you can block that from running.
Mr. Apple's giving us some under the hood options here.
Secret stuff. He's in
some secret, man.
Yeah.
Anyway, but you could do that if you wanted to. But that's again, to your point, going back to your original point, it's not in the original.
It's not in their spec. And to my mind, it's not intuitive, like how it doesn't work how I think it should work. And it bit me like exactly. But I'm representative of the Mac admins community. I think like the last two versions around, I'm like, or really not the last one because I figured it out by then, but the one before that, I'm like, why is this client only seeing macOS 14.1.1 or something? Like I want to upgrade them to the latest version of 14 and I still have the profile on their machine, or I pulled it on my policy, but for some reason it's still sitting on their machine because like once in a while that happens. So you have to look for that profile and maybe that's messing you up. Anyway, glad we sussed all that out. I will pop quiz. All right, I got time for one pop quiz.
Just one.
Okay. And this relates to my topic in Patreon about the testing suites here. So where are the computer icons stored on the startup disk? Like in the Finder sidebar, when you see a Mac on your network, it's got the picture of the Mac. It's a little MacBook Air icon or an Apple Studio display or something. Where are those stored on the system? Just give me a general. Sam, you got it? It's not on your test. What?
I think it's system, library, core services, and then there's a core types.bundle.
Yes, that is the one. You got it. You must have Googled that, or you.
No, I actually know that one.
You had your AI agent there. Oh, nicely done. Okay, I'm impressed. No, that was the part I couldn't remember, the core types.bundle. So I had to Google that, and they're in there. And for example,
you accused me of cheating. That's not.
Why do you need that?
I asked you if you're cheating. What's that, Sam?
Why do you need that? Why?
So I'll get to it in my topic.
Why do we care, Joe?
I'll get to it in my testing topic, but.
And Guillaume didn't look it up. I'm taking him on his honest approach here. He typed it in very fast. So
they changed, right? Those images changed in Tahoe, right?
That's what I'm wondering. I'm looking at the ones for Tahoe. So, for example, here's one example.
This is a teaser for the Patreon show.
That's right. com.apple.cinema-display.icns. So that's for an old Apple Cinema display that you were not changed.
I'm sorry. Yeah. You were saying you were talking about hard drives and mounted disks and servers and things like that. Those
that's a good one. Yep. Those are in there too. I'm talking about computers and monitors and things. The tricky part is that I don't think they update it very often. So they have in there com.apple.macbook Air 13-2022 space gray. Fine. That's probably the same image used for every version since then of that size, right? But then there's like a MacBook Pro that is, I forget if it's like the 14 or the 13. Like they don't have one for the 13-inch MacBook Pro M1 model because it's close enough to the, I don't know, whatever, like the 14-inch version, for example. But it's good to know where those are in case you want to use them in a project. So that's what I'll get to in the next episode.
That's exciting.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thank you to our patrons for being here for the live recording and for supporting us month after month with your dollars and cents. We really appreciate it. And your feedback. You really keep us going and encourage us to keep doing the show all these years. And thanks, everybody, for listening. We will see you next week.
Jerry does his voices of customers of all kinds.
Am I on the cloud?
Joe spins his deeply detailed yarns all the time.
I have a whole story about this.
Sam is on the road again, phoning in from a hotel.
at least we know where I am.
Half a cent.